How's it going, everyone? Sorry, it's a bit late. I slept in a little bit too much. Long time since that's happened. Um, all right. Welcome to the stream. And as you can see, uh, I think the character is ready for texture. I think it's really cool. I finished up the retopo, and it came up really nice. Let me just open up the 3D viewport. So everything I think is there that I need for the most part, which is really cool. Looking really cool. I really like the shirt. And now my job is to texture this up without it going too far down the path of realistic looking textures. That's the hardest part about doing this sort of stuff. Is just the balancing the realism with the stylization. Because I'm going to be using Substance, and it's so tempting to use all these fancy materials when using Substance Painter. Um, but yeah, welcome to the stream. Just give me a second to check something. Sorry. And also welcome if you're on Twitch as well. I'm on there as well. And sometimes I forget to say hello there. All right, cool. So just making sure everything's up and running. All right, cool. Denny was here. Welcome, Denny. Or Danny. Cheers. Um, and welcome, Jex. Welcome anyone who joins up. By the way, if you want to grab this model right now, as it is now, to look at how it's built, with including the sculpted part and the retopo part and everything and all the bits and bobs, you can sign up to either Patreon or YouTube and get access to the Discord channel where I have uploaded this file for you to check out already at this stage, even before the film's done. So if you want to check it out and see how it's all built and how it's all put together, yeah, sign up and get some extra stuff as well. All the working files from previous projects and exclusive content. I'm going to be uploading a extra video for this as well, where I have retopoed the arm and the hand. So that's all done manually. There's no fancy pants retopo plugins. It's just all done by hand. And as you can see, it's all pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out in the end. So just to play with the idea as well, by the way, let's have a look at the comparison between this version here and the retopoed version with a auto retopper. What do you reckon? So firstly, let's just go ahead and save this. I just want to show you what the difference is like the consistency in the retopo once you've done it manually. All right. So let's grab the original piece. So the original piece is this one, I think. Yep, there's the original. There's the original sculpt. There's my retopoed version. That is plain 0. Oop. I want to turn that off. So we want to turn off. We want to just move the retopper across. So there's the retopo version. As you can see, oh, I don't know why I did that. Oh, because we've got some snapping turned on. But you can see here we have our retopo version with the wireframe. Let's bring up the opacity on the wireframe. And then we have our sculpt, which is pretty dense, pretty crazy. And then we have, let's do an auto retopper. So basically, we're going to use this mesh online to do what we need to do. So let's just do, sorry, quad remesh with this amount of numbers. And it's going to be a very similar amount of polys, I reckon, as well. Let's do a remesh and see what happens. And let's compare it all. So now take closer attention to the hands, for one. And the way that I've design certain areas of the body. Now, some parts look very consistent with what I've done. Other parts are really messy. I do have a specific time. I want to try and get done by the end of the year, but it's so hard to know whether or not that's going to be the case. So yeah, as you can see here, if I hide away the mask, now he looks like Darth Maul. If you hide away the mask, you can see a few issues with this version. Firstly, the face is so much more well defined. Like I've got proper loops around the ears, all that sort of stuff. Whereas with the face, it couldn't really pick that up because it's also one solid object. And also just the way that it's actually shaping around the face is a little bit different to mine as well, with a little bit more consistency, I'd say, with the way I've done mine. Whereas this one has the grid going up through the nose, right? This one has a bit more control over where those faces are redirecting. So one's going down through the mouth, some are going up to the nose, and there's like these nice defined areas. Whereas this one has a little bit of weirdness in the brow. The other thing is that the only thing I would say that's pretty consistent between both is the body. The body's pretty close. The body is actually very close to what I've got, which is actually pretty cool to see with the auto retopo. I have made a few amendments though. You can see here that I've tried to define the back muscles a bit more directly. I don't usually do this, but in this case I thought it would be a good idea to give it a go, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. It came up really good with the detail there, and I've also like sort of predetermined or pre-laid out any idea that I might have some legs going on there. So I've sort of set that up to be the case with this. So this would come around like this, and then I do some extrusions for the leg in case I need to do something for the cloth sim that's going to be used for the legs eventually. But we'll see. Now the big difference is in the hands and the arms. So the arms, I've got way less geometry for one, and it's much better distributed as well, I think. And it gets the same amount of detail for a lot less than this one, I reckon, as well. All right. And the cool thing is that if I look at this one, it's really dense going up the arm. Really, really dense. Like there's tons of polys going up the arm, which isn't necessary for this to be the case, right? It's so crazy dense. And the thing is, when you do an auto retopo, you constantly have to play with these numbers to try and get what you can, and otherwise it just doesn't work. The other thing is that with the thumb and the hands, they're a little bit different, and it can lead to some cases. These are coming out pretty good to some sort of issues like this here. See how the lines are redirecting into the hand in a weird way from the pinky to this. It looks really strange, and there's no consistency between the knuckles and the hands. Could lead to some deformation problems. Whereas with the fingers here, they're much more well defined, and they're much more consistent. Hit the like, you freeloaders. I wish I could say that. Yeah, but you can see here that's looking a lot more consistent here. So we've got these nice loops going down the fingers and this nice sort of separation. The one thing I was inspired by the retopo though when I first did it was the way that the hand was designed, the thumb was designed. So that's looking. I'm really happy with the way the thumb came up. So that's really cool. Got this nice like loop that goes around the thumb. But yeah, that's all done. So what we can do now, I hope, is do some texturing. So we're going to texture just the body for now. I'm going to texture just the body. I didn't have a chance to install the new version of the tablet yet. I'm waiting on some information from XP Pen about that. Oh, no worries, man. Good stuff. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Comic Sans, for joining. I know it's late where you are as well, so it's pretty crazy. All right, so we got this. I'm going to turn off the multi-res for this. So just going to use the base resolution here. I'm going to export out this. So I'm going to export out this one. Now the UVs have been unwrapped, just so you know. So if I go to my UV editor, hopefully there's no issues with the the UVs. Although, for some reason, there's a gap. Did I miss something here? No, it's all there. So I'm just gonna move. Yeah, that's right. I moved the neck. So what you can do to move the UVs from one UDIM to another, just push G and then minus whatever number you need to go by, -1 in this case, and we're good. So I'm gonna save that. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, no update from. It's more to do with like getting the right links. So I want to get some links for you guys to download and check out some discounts and stuff. So I'm waiting to get that. Ah, thanks, man. Cheers. Appreciate it. All right, cool. So there's our body. Let's go ahead and export that out. I'm going to export that out as a OBJ or FBX. Let's go FBX. And the OBJ is all right too, but yeah, it can be problematic. FBX. I'm gonna go with a new folder, and we're gonna go with a new. Wait, yeah, okay, new name. So dealer low poly. Oh well, oh why don't I use the Topo flow? Because I can't be bothered buying it for one, and um, I want to be able to control the amount of polygons I create when I go ahead and use it. I would be tempted to try it actually when I have the time, but I find that when I use those sort of plugins, I have less control over just where I want to place polygons. You know, you're prone to making mistakes, that sort of thing. Yeah, for sure. So dealer low poly. Let's go ahead and import cancel. Let's go ahead and export. Sorry, export FBX. And I want to have selected objects, mesh only, and I want the geometry to have, yeah, apply modifiers turned on, and that should be fine. That should be turned off already, so that's all good. And export. And that should be okay. Yeah, they're practically identical, so that's all good. And then what I need to do is also to export out the high poly, which is going to be this one, which is the ultra high poly. So what I ended up doing yesterday, I did a multi-res version of this, and then applied the multi-res so I can shrink wrap properly, so it's got higher detail. And I smoothed out the details up here, so I want to get those weird distortions I had yesterday. So I'm going to export out this one too. Dealer 07, and I'm just going to call it high poly. Fuck it. Same deal. Geometry selected only. That's all good. And then export. Yeah, it's always nice to do things from scratch anyway. Just want to say that still thank you. I found you on that time all that time ago. Would never have made a 3D model if I never found your stuff. Thanks, Comic Sans. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always good to know that people have actually learnt new things from my work, which is awesome. All right, cool. So what I'm gonna do, open up Substance. I'm not gonna rely on Blender for this because in my last on the tutorials I recorded recently, yeah, I can't wait to try these. Can't wait to try this. I really want to use it soon. I need to have a reason for it yet. What I need to do is with my previous tutorials that I've just recorded, I did it in Blender because I came to the conclusion after looking at the poll about most people being hobbyists that they're not going to have substance. So I ended up using Blender's one, texturing, and it was just a pain in the bum. Chaos add-on. What's the chaos add-on? Yeah, you got to tell me what the chaos add-on is. All right, let's import the file. So what we're going to do is go to File, New, and I'm going to set the texture maps to 2048 because I don't think I'm going to need anything more than that. I don't think so. We'll see. And we're going to go ahead and Turn on UV tile workflow. Preserve UV tile layout. Yes. Import baked maps. No, don't need that for now. Physical side, all good. And then push OK. Documents. Black curtain, production, characters, dealer, render tests, XPX, FBX, and then the low poly first. Open that up, push OK. And yes, it opened. It at least it opened up, but that means the UVs were actually laid out nicely. You can see the UVs over here, all laid out. Now, what I need to do now is go to my texture set settings and go to Bake Mesh Maps. And what I'm going to do is bring in my high poly mesh. So I'm going to bring in my high poly mesh. And there we go. See how it's all connected. That's our cage. So we can change the distance. See how it all comes together. So we'll see how it all comes together. And I'm going to bake down the details. When does a hot new demo drop? Soon. New tutorial series will drop soon. Cool. Chaos is a debris and explosion add-on. I'm going to need that for my film. Thank you for letting me know. I'll look that up for sure. You're not going to put chaotic sounds on anything. That's fair enough. All right. All right, cool. So I got the cage here. I want to have a high. I'm going to go with the higher number here. We'll see how we go. Actually, I'll do 2048 first, then I'll update it if it comes up good. I've got my tiles there. It's going to use the high poly as a reference, and hopefully it will bake quite nicely. Let's have a go. And you can see there's the detail coming through in the normal maps. Well, this is much faster than it used to be. Holy crap. They've optimized for Mac, so it looks a lot nicer. That might be an issue. That little weirdness in the mesh there might be a little issue there. So I might quickly smooth that out before I come back. Return to painting mode. So you can see here, this is a low poly, but it looks high poly because it's got all this detail now. But we got this issue here of this weird normal split there. So this is where you'd probably go into Blender. Look at where the issue is. You can see it here. This weird split here. And you kind of, oh, I see. Yeah, I see. So it didn't merge properly there. So what I'm going to do is, oh, it's a mirrored version. Let's apply all. And merge the verts. There we go, that fixes it. So that was an issue there. So I'm going to re-export that. FBX, high poly, export FBX. And then I'm going to re-bake with the new file. So let's do that again. Bake mesh maps. And you can see it should be fixed now. Let's just go ahead and reload this. That should be fixed now. Let's see. Let's try rebaking. And that looks a lot better, I think. Yeah. I got Tino Composites, so I figured that would be a good starting point to learn Blender. Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. In terms of paying for anything, a substance is absolutely essential in my workflow. I reckon I can't live without it. All right, cool. Let's go back and see if we still have that line, and the line's gone, so that looks a lot better. But look at all the detail we have now in the chest and the body now, which is really cool that we can work with. And that was without we don't need to worry about sculpting that in or adding extra geometry or anything like that. It's all there. It's all there. So what I'm going to do now is just do an extra bake now. I know that at least now it works pretty well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and do a proper bake at 4K. So let's go ahead and do that. Dealer, this is the thing, you gotta make a new folder for everything. Textures. Now usually what I do is just make a textures folder and then put the Substance Painter files in there. All right, cool. Bake mesh maps one more time, but this time at 4K. The reason I'm doing 4K for the bakes is so when I add filters, it will be a lot more accurate, a little bit more resolution to work with. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, it's always good. It's always exciting to start a new project. It's always exciting. And of course, if you feel like what I'm showing you here is useful or you're enjoying the streams, just let me know. You can you can do a super chat, super like, join the subscription, join a membership or join Patreon. That'd be much appreciated. Trying to make this a full-time thing. Trying to make making films a full-time thing. So any contribution will come in handy. As you can see, baking the 4K version is a little bit tougher. Takes a little bit longer. But the results will speak for themselves. Now, I probably should have included the height. That is one thing I probably should have included. Because, as you can see, it's turned off here. If I want to displace that in Blender, I can use the height map to displace the bits of the geometry. Do I do mentorships? Not at this stage. But I am thinking about doing workshops, like group workshops, either online or in person. I have a feeling that I'll have to do it online for the first few rounds. So they'd be like week-long workshops over the summer. And basically during term breaks, I wanted to do workshops to, well, basically I would keep myself getting some money coming in. But also, my wife is going back to work in a few weeks and she works between the terms. So I'm going to be splitting the parenting workload. So, yeah, that's the only time I'll be able to do sort of workshops. I'm gonna turn that on. One more bake. This is the thing about the very start of the modeling or the texturing process is just reining in what you need and what you don't need. So you need to kind of, yeah, turn things off and on and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Substance Painter is awesome. Let's make sure I got the right screen turned on. I don't. Let's just go ahead and put that ready to roll. Cool. It's a nice way of putting it, Night Cow. All right, almost there. Almost there with the bake. So you can see the heights coming in now as well. So the nice thing about doing this is that we can actually start to texture in all the little cracks and crevices and really understand where those little bits of ambient occlusion can fit and make it a little faster. Oh, thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Um, yeah, it's always good fun as well. So it's been great doing the streams. I've been really enjoying it. And it's great to see actually some progress without me having to like fumble around too much on the modeling and filmmaking front during the streams. Usually I would have to do a lot of experimentation, but a lot of it's in my head already about what I want to do. So yeah, got some really cool stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks as well when it comes to actually getting the film done. So more characters. I'll probably turn those into videos, honestly. Um, all right, all done. Fantastic. Look at that. So nice. All right, cool. So save the file. The only problem with Substance is the files are so chunky. There's my layer stack. And this is all one material, by the way. This is all one material, so I don't have to worry about any multiple materials. And let's just start. This is what I usually do. I don't start with any of the fancy materials here. I don't start with those. I start with a fill material. So it's the standard fill layer. And that fill layer is just going to be the base color with the color of the skin, the mid-tone of the skin that I want. So this guy's going to be pretty sunburnt in parts. He's going to have some tats. So my wife is actually going to design the tats, which is going to be really cool. Put her down as a credit on the film. And yeah, so there we go. We'll start off with that. That's kind of where I want the skin color to be. We'll bring up the roughness a little bit. Actually, if it was like a little bit sweaty, that'd be pretty cool. But I'll add the sweat as little droplets. There's a way to cut the chunk depending on the output. Yeah, that is true. All right, cool. So we got that going on. Let's bring up the roughness around there. That's sort of where my base will be. All right, then I'm going to add another fill layer. Duplicate that and darken that out. And those will have a bit of red undertone. And straight off the bat, I'm going to add a mask. Right, add a mask. Then add what is called a generator to that mask. And then add a ambient occlusion mask. And you can see here, right now it's sort of inverted. And it's using the baked masks, the baked texture maps as masks. So these texture set settings, this mask here, ambient occlusion, is what is going to determine how the mask works. So I'm going to flip that and play with the balance so I get different dark spots. And I can play with the contrast like that. And we start to get those sort of crevices, getting a little bit of darkness in there. And I can always go ahead and change the color there as well, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and change the color on that. So it's a little bit redder. All right. Oh yeah, for sure. It's always good to be able to like cross-pollinate your skill set. So it's a good idea doing that with the Maya projects. That's what I recommend to my students as well at uni, is that my tutorials can actually work for Maya as well. All right, cool. So there we go. And I can bring down that detail. Now what I will only do is just have the color. So I'm going to push down Alt and then only have the color there. I'm not going to worry about it contributing to the rest of the roughness maps and stuff like that. No errors, which is good. And they're just slits as well. They're just slits. So there's no depth there. There might be a little bit of an error there, but that's nothing, really. How do I get that error from not appearing? Is basically, I think, like tinkering with the UV maps so that there's still a little bit of a gap. So still a little bit of a gap in the UV maps there. All right, cool. So let's bring down the opacity on that. And let's start actually texturing this guy up. So what I want to do is get parts of highlight and parts of shadow into the general areas of the body. So what I'm going to do is make a new color. Again, just straight up color. And I'm going to give it a, yeah, where's the color option? Where'd it go? Color? Only color, oh, right, yeah, color only. Again, I'm going to add a mask. This is where I just manually start to mask. Black mask. And I'm not even going to worry about the color changing just yet. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the areas that I want to sort of block out first. All right. Good evening. Good evening, VBB. Just a few greenish colorings here and there, and you will be yeah, Fallout Ghoul. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm going to turn on mirroring for this, because this is like general stuff. I'm not going to worry about the asymmetry stuff yet. I'm just going to sort of break down areas that I want to sort of highlight through the, highlight through the mesh, through the painting. Let's bring down the brush size. Presume brush size, there we go. There. So I just want to add some highlights along these sort of areas, just generally speaking. So I'm not even being very fancy about it. I'm just really just wanting to sort of emphasize those points that I want to work on. So even though I'm not going to show the face, I may as well do it just to show you guys where I would do it. And I might still show the eyes through the mask anyway. So I'm just add some highlight there, highlight here, and I'll add some highlight there for sure. Which model of pen display do you use? I'm thinking about getting something similar to my wife. Looked into different brands, but those ones look great. This is the XP Pen Pro 16 version 1. So the version 2 just came out, and I'm going to be doing a review on that soon. So probably in the next stream, hopefully tomorrow or maybe next Monday, I will have the new version here to play with, and I'll be actually be able to give you a direct comparison on which one, like what the improvements are, because there are a few, and I'm really looking forward to using it. I've also got a Huion Canvas 13 coming, or I've got one just now that came in the mail for review as well, which I'll be doing a review on as well. So if you want something a bit smaller, that might be worth looking into. So I'm going to do a review on that too. And yeah, got some really cool stuff coming up as well to talk about. So plenty of cool things to explore. So keep an eye on those, and I'll be able to give a pretty honest review because I've been using this tablet for a while, and it's really great, but there are some drawbacks, particularly with connectivity. It's a bit tricky to connect if you don't have a USB-C, which limits its portability. So I'm just going to highlight these areas, and I'm just going based on feeling. I'm not actually trying to be do anything relatively accurate or anything like that. So I'm just going with feeling. Oh, I don't know about that, dude. At least with driver support, maybe. But like, here's the thing, right? This is a 1080p display, right? 1080p display on Windows. If I was trying to mirror my 2K display here, the 2K display here, onto this, and have this actually represent the 2K, it would just shit itself. It would just not work as well as it does here. This is what made me using this possible over the 24-inch that I have. So I would say that the screen, at least with screen compatibility, I guess you can say, or this screen work, like the way you share screens is way better on the Mac. It's so much nicer. Screen management, rather, it's way better on the Mac. And that's unbiased. I'm not being biased here. I'm not a Mac fanboy by any chance. I'm just going with whatever suits me the most at this point in time in terms of how I work in my workflow. But if I had the choice and Windows had these options and I had a decent machine that wasn't fucking melting my desk to get what I need done, then I would definitely move back to the PC. But alas, that ain't the case. I was so fed up with the temperatures. And yesterday, my office got pretty warm just because of the sun. And normally, with my old PC, is that if the sun was coming through my office and I had the PC running as well, my room would get 10 degrees hotter than even the hottest days. So I'd have like a 35 degree day in my room or a 30-degree day in my office, and it'd be like 40 degrees in my office. It's fucked. Yeah, duplication, yeah. Well, this one does work. This is the crazy thing. This is actually duplicating the 2K display from this. It's actually duplicating. This is actually duplicating it perfectly. So it's working really well. I think that must be a recent thing, maybe. I don't know, but works really well with the Mac. That's at least the case. All right, so I've got the front sort of blocked out in terms of these sort of areas of highlight. Let's do the back. Whoops. So the back. So I'm going to have the line travel up here. Let's get that going on. Highlight. Now, I could do this with curvature, but I want to have more control. So I could do this with the opposite of ambient occlusion and use curvature to do it. But I really wanted to mix it myself, so that's why I'm doing it this way. All right. And I really want to do a proper job of this, rather than using like a lot of shortcuts. Thanks for the subscription. If you've been watching PC Blackout, appreciate it. Yes, 40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, these are highlight points, Comic Sans. So these are just the points that I'm going to blend with some highlight skin tones. Now, there is a trick to this that I could use, depending on how the UV maps behave, and that is just using a blur. So I'm going to save this and show you what that looks like. So I have this going on. That's looking pretty cool. And what I can do actually is add a filter and add a blur. And I can just blur those together to get that going on. But it does work quite nicely. But you get this weird wrapping in the UVs, which I don't like. So I'm going to turn that off and do it manually. So there's pros and cons to this method. So if you weren't going to go across UV maps, then this blur method's great. But for now, I'm going to manually blend them. Blend it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there for sure. Yep. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do now is grab the blur or the smudge tool and manually smudge it. We'll see how we go. So I actually would use a bigger brush and be very gentle. So it's quite strong. So I'm going to bring down the opacity on that stroke and just sort of manually blend it. It doesn't feel right when I do that. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Really start to blend it. Now, mind you, the colors are procedural as well. It's dynamic, so not procedural. They're yeah, non-destructive. That's the word I'm looking for. So that means I can turn down the opacity if I have to make it feel a little bit more all right. And I can change it any time. So if I want to change it now, I can just go ahead and just go to the color, go to the color tab down here, change it to the natural highlights that he has. And it's going to be a bit more reddish. And you can see here that those colors will come through. And honestly, the lighter color is probably going to be pretty good. I'm going to bring down the opacity as well. And then we have that going on. So that's coming up good. So let's keep going with the blending. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with with texturing. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. It's not my most passionate part of the process. I find it quite annoying half the time because I always get the details kind of messed up. Sunscreen, yes, he's going to have some sunburn, that's for sure. Yeah, the Xeons, I probably wouldn't mind getting a Xeon. I mean, like, they're bloody expensive though, even the used ones. But I wouldn't mind. I want to get if I get another PC, it's going to be a mini ITX for sure. I don't want to deal with a full tower setup. So that's the tricky part. So you can see here, I'm just sort of blending across, even across different highlights regions to get what I want. And I'll sharpen those up as well as time goes on with extra highlights, like more specific highlights. Yeah, at least it's relatively easy on the computer, at least with Substance. This is the other thing with Blender's texturing tools. I know a lot. They've been spruiking a lot of the vertex painting, which is great for sculpts. Not great for multi-res or anything like that. Doesn't really. I don't think it works that well with multi-res. So it's basically useless. So you have to go back to the texture maps, and man, they're slow. They are slow as hell. Like very, very prone to crashing as well. So I'm just sort of joining up all these highlights. And then once I've done this, I can probably add that blur modifier as well, on a with less strength rather. All right. Yeah, I'd love to have a little render farm. That being said, I don't do a lot of rendering with what I do. I don't do like it's usually like very last moment sort of stuff. And it really depends on how much detail you need to render, because my work doesn't require all that much detail either. So my renders aren't usually that chunky. So just going ahead and softening out all these different areas. Now, overall, when doing stylized texturing, you will always get a better result if you do it properly and do it manually. All right, don't rely on shortcuts when it comes to stylized texturing. If you want that arcane sort of feel, handcrafted is the way to go, man. No shortcuts. Painting with that in mind will get you the best results. And even nowadays, painting manually is so much easier than doing it with, say, without any sort of 3D software. So much easier than it used to be. Let's try and need to get that baby counter and that cat counter going. All right, cool. So there's the face, like almost done already, just with the those highlights. Obviously, going to be adding proper stuff as well, like midtones and color and all that sort of stuff. But just getting that up and running is really effective. So let's just show you the difference between the before and after, what that makes a difference of. How much better does that look overall? So much better. All right, let's get the back of that skull going. Now also remember that I've baked down the high poly to the low poly, which came out really good. With the hand smoothing you're doing, do you avoid color cut? That color cut the seams? No. That's the cool thing about doing it manually, is that when you cut through the UVs, it's seamless. It looks seamless. It looks much nicer. So I'll show you what I mean. That's right now going through a seam, and it's already looking a lot better. So if I go here to this where the shoulder is, the seam is around there. If I cut through, you're not going to notice it. It will just automatically go from one area to the other in the UVs. So it'll automatically just blend. Let's see, where's the chest? Chest is here. See how I'm blending through the chest, through the back here? It's going automatically through to the arm. And it looks seamless. That's the cool thing about this method. Now I'm sure there's a way that I'm not aware of getting that to work properly, but I haven't found it. And you can see here, it's going into the arm. So if we go to the arms here, you can see the blend happening. Where's the arms anyway? Yeah, this is the arms. You can see the blend happening around the back here. All right, let's just get that blended in. Welcome. Oh, thank you for joining Iceland Summer. Appreciate it. And welcome to the stream, Nahuel. She's here. She appreciate it. Thank you. No worries, man. In terms of going home and checking this stuff out. All right. Well, that's good to know about the Xeons. Might look into it. All right, cool. So yeah, just getting that to go down like so. And see how it gives it that sort of natural paintbrushy look as well, which is cool. And you can also even add more muscle tone by doing this method as well, like highlight muscle groups. All right, let's go to the front and get this out the way. All right, cool. It's an ugly name. It's like saying nah and well. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, Narwhal. All right. Nah, it's fine. It's not an ugly name, man. You should own it. Own it. All right, cool. Let's get that clavicle nice and highlighted. And I'm going to be adding like little highlighted brush strokes as well later on once I have the time. But for now, keeping it really simple. So this is almost like a blocking phase just for texturing alone. But look at the difference already. So much nicer. And I'll probably bring down that opacity even a little bit more just to give it a little bit more natural blend. Is the stream being saved somewhere? This is really nice stuff. Yeah, on YouTube. YouTube will always have my streams published. So automatic once this finishes, this is finished. This will automatically be in the live section of my YouTube channel. All right, the live section of my YouTube channel. The cool thing about this is that I also have a few, like I think 3 or 4 more characters to have to do this with. I'll do those off stream, probably in my own time if I can. It's a lot of work actually. I didn't realize how much work it's going to be, obviously, because I'm an idiot. But I was sketching out a new character last night on the iPad, so we'll see. I might turn that into a featured video instead, rather than streaming that, and then I'll do another live stream of just. I want to talk about the animatic process again a bit more. Start talking through. I need to pre-record some voices, and then I'll get back into that one. Thank you, Saad Ria. Oh, Saad Rays, sorry. Thank you for joining from Pakistan, by the way, as well. Appreciate it. Now, in about 2 weeks, I think, 2 weeks, my streams will probably migrate to a later time in the evening for me. So from 10 p.m. Australian time to midnight is when I'll probably end up doing the streams because as I mentioned, my wife is going back to work. So the idea is that obviously I'm going to be doing the stay-at-home dad thing for a little while. So it's not going to be very practical for me to do morning streams anymore, just in case the baby changes their habits or anything like that. So odds are 10 p.m. to midnight will be the way to go in about 2 weeks. Oh, dude, if I need the help, I'll reach out. I'll let you know. But yeah, it'd be great to get some collaboration going on. I think in the future, with a lot of projects that I have in mind, doing it all on your own can be a bit tricky. All right, cool. Almost there. So it doesn't take long to get what we need in terms of the blocking phase done here. All right, it doesn't take much at all. It just takes a little bit of time to just lay out those ideas and then just work with the brush. Now you can see here, this is why you would buy a tablet, by the way. This is why you would need a tablet for a lot of this, because you're moving your mouse like this constantly and clicking every single time you do a brush stroke. Your wrists and your hand are going to be absolutely toasted by the end of that process. And that's not even just to do all the detail. Is it possible to do a full-fledged animation in iClone 8, for example, 10 more seconds? Not like, I guess. I never use iClone 8 much myself, but you don't film the entire mocap in one hit. You do it in little chunks because you're going to be working in shortcuts anyway. Like you're going to be cutting the footage anyway. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm sure you could do a full animation with iClone 8. No problem. It's going to know how to structure it. Highlights. So here we go. As you can see here, can I make it as a self-taught artist, or you can make it as self-taught. I mean, my video talked about the merits of going to university, but it's not for everyone. I would only say that if people who have the access to a decent college should consider it. That's all I would say. Just for more, it's more than do with like skill attainment. But self-taught, you can definitely make it in this world. Especially if you want to go down this freelance route. No one gives a shit about whether or not you went to university if you're a freelancer. So that's a big thing to say. If you're going down the route of wanting to get like internships and stuff at big studios, that's a bit harder without a degree, but it is possible. But yeah, self-taught, self-made, definitely possible. But the grind is a lot harder, I reckon. The grind to become skilled at what you do is a lot harder doing it on your own, because you don't have any guidance. There's no guidance. You have tutorials, but you don't know which tutorial to start with. Those sort of things. You need to have a very clear goal of where you want to go, what kind of work you want to do. There's a really good video by Smeef. If you haven't heard of Smeef, he does like these sort of more like edutainment videos about the industry. I would call it edutainment. It's less to do with like full-on tutorials and more to do with like the vibe. A lot more memey in general. But he had a good video published yesterday about how to successfully become a freelancer. I think that's a very effective video. Yeah, college is good for like, if you don't know how to teach yourself stuff, college is great for teaching you how to teach yourself. That's for sure. All right, cool. All right, cool. The thing is about like in terms of profitability and making memes a profitable thing, that's a very hard thing to do. Memes are cheap, very cheap. So yeah, you want to be able to make something of real substance to be successful, I think. I do get sad when I see big, like huge meme videos make the rounds though, whereas like little short films and stuff tend to not really make much traction. I get a little bit sad about that sometimes, because all that work, all that good work made by people, falling by the wayside. All right, so here we go. Yeah, when it comes to like Comic Sans, when it comes to short animated films, just write that script first and see how you feel about it. Write that script first. Honestly, that's the biggest, most important thing you can do before even open up the 3D software. Write that script, keep it within 3 pages, so 3 minutes long, and really just decide whether or not you think it's worthwhile investing your time into making that story. All right, cool. So you get that going on there. Not perfect, but I don't really care all that much. It's meant to look a bit natural anyway in terms of the brush strokes, so I'm trying to keep it nice and clean. All right, cool. All right, cool. Almost there. Almost there with this. Now you may notice that the hands themselves have their own UV map just for these areas. So it's because I want to get some detail into the fingers. And I have a little plan for certain close-ups with this film as well, using projection mapping. All right, cool. So we got that going on. That's looking really cool. All right, so let's add some shadows and dips into the work as well. So I'm going to add another one. Let's call this highlights. Basic. And make a new one. A new color. Call this one. Let's go shadows. Yeah, highlights and shadows. I guess I could call that highlights, shadows. Basic as well. And this will be a different color. So it's going to be like probably like a reddish color. Add a black mask. And I'm going to start to manually add some more ambient occlusion, I guess you can say. So here, make sure the mask is selected. And the thing is, with these brushes, I can actually go ahead to the brushes and work with textured brushes as well. So I might do that here. Let's see. Can I add that? Oh, it runs a bit shitty. So let's go with a bit softer. I just want a really soft brush. Oh, I got a nice blur brush there. That's cool. I might try that out later. Let's see, I got this softer brush here. So I could probably play with the brush softness over here, maybe. No, it's just one alpha, so not much control there. But there's lots to work with. And you can also get your own sort of also the Photoshop brushes. Oh, that will work. That will work well. The Kyle brushes are also installed as well, which is really cool. Yeah, it kind of works. I'll worry about that later. I might just use the regular brush now. Basic soft, let's go. And over here, I might actually turn on, in this case, oops, undo. I might actually turn on a filter for blurring in this case. Because I don't think I'm going to be crossing any... I'm not going to be crossing any UVs except for there. You can see there. Okay. Maybe I will. Let's try what this blur brush does. I'm really curious. Oof, there goes the save. It's okay. Let's go ahead and reset that. Can I reset that with a regular smudge? I think it automatically uses it. It must be the case. Reset brush. Is there a reset brush over here? Yeah, there is. Good. Maybe not. No, I don't want to apply default brush. No, I don't want to apply that. I'll just make it this brush for now. Oof. I think I screwed up my brush settings there. Let's just go basic soft and then we'll worry about that later. Come on, in you go. Just use the blur filter, yeah. I have thought about using the blur filter, but it's gonna cross over the UVs. So I can do that. Oops. Sorry, again. Go to filter, blur. You can see it's gonna work to a degree, but you start getting this seam here, which sucks. Now, for some reason, when I turn on blur wrap, it doesn't work. You have to kind of manually blend it yourself. I can try this out though. Grab a extra filter, add a paint filter, and see what happens. And see if I can blur it that way. But I don't think it's going to work that way. Yeah, that won't work. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. So let's just get the highlights in. Or the shadows in, rather. And I might just really crush those, the blur actually in that. Just really blur the shit out of that. And that looks pretty good. I mean, I can fix that in Blender if I have to. I might try doing that in Blender. All right, cool. add some more shadows. Now be mindful, I'm trying to keep it, I'm gonna bring down the opacity as well. So something like that. Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to figure out what I need. All right, cool, sweet. So let's keep that going. Get this going in there. So trying to be subtle. Just trying to be subtle about where I place the shadows. And already that's starting to come together pretty nicely. I might blend that part there a little bit too. Blend that out a little bit more. Let's go with the basic soft. That looks a bit better. There we go. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. Going back to this. Keep on going. Now, as for the belly button, I'm not sure. I don't even think it shows in mine. So I might just work that out like so. So yeah, I'm just really trying to emphasize areas. And the thing is, like, even in Blender, with the color management there, you got to be pretty contrasty to get these sort of details to show up. So be pretty liberal with how you lay out these things out. So you can see the UV map coming into there, which is a bit of a shame. Turn on opacity. I might do some stroke opacity there. It's cool. Are you going to use add SSS? I might. Actually, no, I won't add SSS because I'll add it in the brush in the colors of the textures, but I'm not going to add it to the mesh. I don't think because in render, because this is still meant to be like a toon shaded character, so it's going to be much more stylized than you think in the final output. Much more stylized. So even though I'm using a 3D software for texturing that utilizes a lot of realism and stuff like that, I'm going to be doing a lot of fancy pants stuff to this as well. All right, cool. Look at those cheekbones, how much more they stick out once you've added those shadows. All right, let's just get those eyes looking really dark. And already that's looking pretty cool. All right, let's get that in there. Also be mindful that a lot of this is going to be covered in tats. So a lot of tattoos and stuff. So that's going to be cool. Having directly... No, you don't have to be strict with your poly count in animations, but you need to be mindful that if you're animating, you need to have a low poly proxy, as they call it, to work with so you can animate effectively without worrying about lag, input lag. So yeah, you can work with any poly count with animations. You can go crazy with it, actually. All right, cool. I think that's looking pretty cool. All right, nice. Save. So now I'm gonna add some undertone, so red undertones in certain areas. So similar sort of thing, gonna make a new color only. Make it kind of reddish. And again, mask it. And again, I'm gonna add a blur as well in certain areas. So we'll see how we go with the blur. But basically his whole head is gonna be burnt off to some degree. So these undertones will come in handy just in general as well. So be pretty liberal with where I place it. It's particularly around the shoulders. A lot of red on the shoulders because these shoulders are pretty bare. And the cool thing about this is that if I wanted them to be a bit glossy from the burn, I could actually add a lower roughness nut value. So here I can bring the roughness down. So his head looking his head will be a bit more blurry. Ooh, different cat doing that. Proxy means it's the same model but a lower poly count that you can animate with. All right, cool. Let's get that neck looking a bit red, especially because he's got a horrible posture. And that back. This is like sunburn. And this will probably end up being on the top. So I'm going to actually go sunburn. This will probably end up on top of all the hats and stuff. Yeah, it's just the standard practice, really. All right, cool. And there's some subtle bits here and there. All right, cool. Let's get those clavicles a little bit red as well. Get this shelf up here, the traps done. And the ears especially will be a bit red too. Although the ears are covered, so it doesn't really make that much difference. All right, cool. So we've got that going on. Let's go ahead and blur that out. Whoops, wrong one. All right, cool. That's looking pretty sweet. So what's going to get him first, toxic environment or the sun? It's going to be the sun. The actual environment is not technically toxic apart from one thing, and I'll talk about that later in the future. All right, cool. So this is looking pretty cool. And let's have a look at comparison. Let's just go ahead and go to all these layers here and turn them into a folder. And you can see just how different it is without any of that contouring. So there's our fill layer. Check it out once it loads. Hey, what's up, YRC? Thank you for joining. Yeah, check it out. Once it reprocesses it. This is the problem with Substance that can be a bit slow. And I'm using a Mac as well. That doesn't help. So here comes this is the after. Let's have a look at the before. How much different is that? So much different. So much nicer with the proper contouring. So there's gonna be a lot more work to do here, but yeah, we're on our way at least. Let that load in again. Cool. Now the nifty thing about this stuff as well is that you can actually draw in your bump maps and extra detail in the bump maps. So what I can do is make a new fault layer and only choose normal and rough or height and bring down the height a little bit. This is my job. I do this full time. Freelancing. So now what I can do is actually add, if I want to add like say stretch marks on their chest and stuff, I can add some of that in the actual bump map. So check that out. So what I'm doing, we'll see if it works. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. what you can do is actually blur the height map itself. Now I have this sort of going on, and then I can actually stretch out the mask with the tool there. That's really how you get started with something like that. A lot of hard work, basically. So yeah, basically I went to uni. I did the hard yards. Found my first job as a 2D animator of sorts at a startup company. Once that was over, I started freelancing a bit more in the 3D space, trying to relearn some stuff. And yeah, it all kind of went from there. Cool. So you can see here now we got that sort of stretch marks in there. We can actually still add some color too. So if I wanted to, I can add a little bit of darker tone in there, and I can get those sort of details in there too. So I can even add some in the shoulders, for instance. And really pump those up. With a low opacity. Can play with all these sort of details. Now this is probably a bit too early to be doing that, but it's fun. Who cares? And I can actually accentuate certain folds in the chest as well, which is really cool. And these will populate into Blender as well. So once I've done that, it will be kind of, you know, permanent. Can make it even stronger, or I can keep them subtle. So I'll keep them subtle. All right, cool. So I'm gonna do the same thing across here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just accentuate certain areas. So I'm gonna maybe get some ribcage stuff going on there, ribcage action. Maybe color in that. May as well color in the armpit a little bit. Why not? Something like that. That's cool. And get that belly button looking a little bit more nice. So you can almost sculpt with this a little bit. Yeah, you can add sweat effects. So we can add like little beads of water with a bump map as well, if we wanted to. So we can do that as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add these little details here and there. There we go. So we're getting there. That's pretty cool. Liking that. Let's just accentuate these abs a little bit. So you can see just how much difference there is there already. I can add some more stretch marks down the bicep. So he's meant to be super lean and super sort of weedy. So I can do that just through here. Now again, I'm stylizing this, so it's not meant to be fancy, but just enough. There you go. All right, cool. And I could technically do it here on the back as well. So depending on, I can't remember the direction of the muscle here, but I can do that here. But I'm not going to show the back much in the animation, so don't have to worry about it so much. All right, cool. Now what I can do here is start to add some extra tonality now. So playing with tonality, I can start to add some purples and greens and blues and stuff, especially around the eyes. So what I'm going to do is make a new color. Why does my texture stay still and not follow the model when it's being animated? It's because your projection is set to object projection, not UV projection. That's why. It's also probably screen projection as well. So if it's screen projection, then it will slide around. Nah, it depends on your preferences. So this is tilted up a little bit. It is more comfortable having a little bit of a tilt, because even now using this tablet, I'm looking down at I'm sort of leaning forward, and it's a little bit more uncomfortable than a full-on tablet. But yeah. So add a black mask. I'm gonna add some blues, and it's gonna be pretty low opacity. And I'm just gonna draw in some blue tones. This makes a big difference, mind you. So this will actually add a lot to the whole thing. And this is going to be blurred out as well, mind you. It's probably blurred out as well. So a little bit of blue tone undertone will go a long way. So it's not just reds and pinks. You want to add a little bit of those blue undertones across the body. It makes such a difference. Especially in these darker areas. Yes, that's right. All right, cool. Let's get some blues in there. So again, I'm just taking it real simple throughout the body, adding those blue undertones where I need to. And you can see it's making a huge difference. And I'll be able to show you one. I'll do a quick export as well before I wrap it up and turn on the rendering engine and turn it on in the render engine and see how that affects everything. All right, there we go. Oh, no worries. No worries, mate. Appreciate it. If you ever get the time, any time is fine. That's all I'll say. It's always good to know that people like my work. All right, cool. So here we go. Let's get those blues in there a little bit in there, and then I think that will do the job. I think that'll be it for now. And if I wanted to actually keep it sort of painterly, I would actually not even worry about blending it. I'll just sort of keep painting the detail in and out of these areas. All right, cat wants to go outside. Give me a sec. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of a blur. And that should be it. That's coming up pretty good, don't you reckon? Yeah, don't worry about making a series. Just make a short film, a simple short film, and then worry about a series later. That's the plan for me, at least. Work with shorts in mind, and then worry about making a film work around that. All right, cool. So now, this guy, I'm thinking about whether or not he needs to have a mohawk. So what I'm going to do is add a hairline of like a shaved hair. So what I'm going to do is add a new layer. I'm going to give it a bit of a blackish color, like that. Roughness will be basically 0. Like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to add a black mask, and then I can use, let's see, a speckled brush. Just need a specky brush. There we go, that could work. Spatter brushes, no, not quite. I just need something with noise, essentially. Let's see. Swarm includes roundness, stitches. Not quite, not yet. Where are we? Just need to add. I can also just make my own brush, I think. Basic soft, and then play with the settings here. So let's go with the stroke opacity being higher. Let's go with the jitter, size jitter, flow jitter, position jitter, and angle jitter. And that basically will turn that into a new brush of sorts. Hardness can be softer. Hey, how you doing, Sketchy Squirrel? Appreciate joining. Now, as for, let's see, will it work? Yeah, it will work. So what I'm going to do is bring my brush stroke right down. And then, let's see, will it work? It's a bit too subtle. Maybe I can just add a mask. Let's see, do I have any noise masks? It's standard noise. Coils, cells. I just need to find something that's nice and noisy. Just static, basically. That'll work. Gaussian spots. So what I'm going to do is add that as a mask. Yeah, I'll add that as a mask and see what happens. So I'm going to add a... Yep, just drag this onto here. Oh, sorry, not into there. Let's add a fill. And there, I can add a mask. You can see here that the scale is a little bit off. So what I'm going to do in the scale here, let's go up to the UV scale. Can I make the size? Oops, wrong one. Fill. Let's see. Tiling. There we go. Did I add it? No, I didn't. Sorry. Let's do that again. Tiling. There we go. That's what I want. So that will give me the hairline dots, right? Now in the settings of the material, I can just bring down the height just a tad to give it that sort of puckered look. So you can see the puckers there. I can bring that right down in the Gaussian spots. So the scale will be changed. Oops, wrong one. So over here, there we go, noise. There we go. That's what I wanted. That'll do. I think 2 is good. I think I screwed with this one too. So there's all kinds of ways you can go about this. Oh, thanks, thanks Kelly Johnson for the super chat. What's up? Not much. Just playing with Substance and seeing what we can do. So yeah, scale 2, noise, parameters, disorder. You can change the way the disorder works as well, which is cool. And then let's go ahead and play with the balance to make it stronger or weaker. I'm gonna make it relatively strong. And then see, the tiling can also be affected there as well. I don't know where I was having a hard time trying to find it. So I can set to 1 if I wanted to, and then just play with the scale over here. Make it smaller, but there's a limit, right? So playing with the tiling will always be easier. All right, cool. So now in order to get this to only work on this area that we see around the hairline, I'm just going to go ahead, firstly bring down the opacity so it just looks like puckers. And then what I can do is add a paint layer. And this will be what I use to mask out the rest. So basic hard. Sorry, I just realized the notification came in twice. Um, Wisdom Tooth. I'm trying to make it my series. Yeah. Script and storyboard always first. Substance Painter. Each layer is basically a material that you can use change parameters. So yes, and then it merges it all together. You can do it in Blender with like mixing materials with masks, but it's a slower process. All right, so with this in mind, I can go to my paint settings. I can make the brush negative and just paint away the rest. So what I'm going to do is only have the hair line have this area, basically. So up here, pull that away. This is great for beards as well, like getting like stubble in beards. And just take away the rest. Actually, the stubble would be pretty cool in the face, but I'll get rid of that for now. There we go. Remove all the detail from the parts you don't want it. And then we have this. Now I'm going to just go through into the texture maps here and just scale up and just remove all that crap here. Don't want that. Remove it from the hands. Don't want it there. And I think we're good. And of course the neck. I don't want it there either. So let's just bring down that brush and do it here too. So now I've got that sort of stubble there. Now I want to add a little bit of a blur. Add a filter. Add a little bit of a blur. Oh, I don't want to blur that. I want to blur the paint layer. Can I do that? No. Okay. So I have to sort of manually soften that out with some smudging. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. Firstly, let's get rid of that. All right, cool. So I'm going to blur out the hairline a little bit. That looks a bit nicer. So it feels a little bit more natural. Cool. Do the same thing on the back. And we're good. Oh, that's cool. Nice to know you got characters ready to roll. That's awesome. So the way I do the sweat droplets would be the same thing, but with a bump that goes upwards, and the color would be like sort of bluish or just whitish. All right, cool. So now the next thing I'm going to do is add another fill. Again, this one's just going to be color and a bit darker. And again, this will have an opacity to it. I can also set it to be like overlay. So it actually inherits some of the color and bring down the opacity right down. And then add a mask. And all I'm going to do is paint in the hairline. Now, why is that working? Oh, yes. Flip the brush. So you can start to see that come through. So I'm going to use a soft brush for this one. Now, basic soft, please. Where's my brush parameters? Hardness is 0, please. There we go. That's better. Now I'll probably add some of a, what do you call it? 6 o'clock shadow as well on the guy, if I felt like I needed to. But for now, I don't need to because his mask is covering his face. You can do this kind of texture in Blender, but it takes ages to set up the node tree. This is far faster, way faster than doing it in Blender. Like, if you're going to be texturing a lot, you basically have only 2 options. You have Quixel Mixer and then you have Substance Painter if you want accessibility of software. There are other ones out there, but they're way more expensive. Quixel Mix is free, so if you want to try out this sort of method of texturing, you can give that a go. But it's definitely worthwhile having, that's for sure. I think it's worth it, at least. All right, cool. All right, cool. So here we go. I think that's good to go for now. The hard thing about Salson is that it's really hard to justify the purchase if you're a hobbyist. Yeah, 3D Coat's pretty cool. I haven't tried it myself, but yeah, definitely an option worth exploring. All right, cool. So I'm going to bring that right down. The color's a bit dark. So that needs to be a little bit. In order to give this a bit more of a sketchy look, I can actually grab another brush type like this one here and then sort of do the opposite, like just sort of give it a little bit of a sketchy look. Actually, it looks kind of cool. And sort of blend it like that. That's cool. I like that. Give it some texture. It's nice that the Blu-ray brush can actually work with that too. So I don't want it to be too realistic either. So that's the other reason why I'm doing it like this. Cool. I like that. Thank you for this compliment on the setup. It's very simple. Mac Studio tablet screens. Yeah. Simplicity was key for this one. Oh, I forgot to do the body on the mask there. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that stubble on his body. Where are we? Want to have 0 there and just get rid of that. Okay, why is that not working? I'm on the wrong layer. That's why. There we go. That's better. Did I miss anything else? I did. Oof. All right, cool. So there. We're on our way. How cool is this? I'm really liking it so far. Yeah, the body stubble looked a bit funny, huh? All right, cool. All right, so we have this going on. Now we can start to maybe add a little bit more detail here and there. So if I wanted to make it look painterly, I'd actually like paint in like little highlights around different areas. So what I'm gonna do. Oh, you reckon? He does look a bit weedy, that's for sure. So I'm gonna add a little bit of stubble in his mouth. Not that, nah, I'm not gonna bother. I gotta tell myself I'm not doing that. Let's go ahead and add another layer. This one's gonna be like a key highlight sort of thing. Color only. Mask it, and what I'm gonna do is start to add just like actual drawn highlights because it's just a bit of fun and it gives it that sort of painted look as well. So something like that. And I will add a bit of a blur to this. And I can be pretty precise about this too. Now, of course, you got to be sure about how much blur you want to add. But yeah, something like that's fine. Now, the hard part is that when I come to do my other characters is will I have the same fidelity in the texture maps? Will I have time to do it? So you got to be really careful about the stylistic choices you make at this point. So just a few dots here and there, and that will just give him a bit more of a sort of painted look. And I can actually bring down that opacity a little bit as well. And you can see just how much difference that makes. It's just little things like that makes a big difference. Oddsworld. Oh yeah, a little bit because of the character. Yeah, there is a little bit of that going on. He's not meant to be like that though. So again, I'm trying to give it a bit of a handcrafted feel. So if I'm gonna go do that, I might actually hand draw some like highlight areas and then sort of blur them out. Get that going in there. Adam's apple. That looks pretty cool. Now I might use a different brush for this one for the blur. Let's see. Cool. Let's see. The Kyle brushes are really cool for this sort of stuff, so I might try this one. Watercolor. I don't know how good it will be for blurring. Yeah, it's awesome, actually. It's actually really good. Just got to get close enough. Yeah, it's nice. Nice natural sort of blur going on there. Cool. So I'm going to do the same thing up here on the head. And really start to sort of accentuate those weird bits of his body. And again, blurring out where I need to, like just making it a bit more subtle. Make it a bit more fun. Yeah, of course you can use shaders because what it does, it exports out the exports out the texture maps. All right, so the texture maps can be applied to any kind of material in Blender. Right, so I'll give you a little squiz with what I mean. I might use my own shader for that. I'll use my own custom shader for that. I did find that I did buy a new custom shader. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but I will try it with mine because I have access to it straight up. All right, cool. So yeah, there we go. Cool. And again, just making sure that like at least the parts that are visibly affected by what's seen in the render, you can see I'll add some detail where needed. All right, cool. So I've only got about 10 minutes to go in this stream. So I'm not going to do any tattoos today. Plus I might get Ellie to draw some up for me. How you going? Welcome to the chat, Ace Cabot. So I will test it out. I just want to test out the look of this with the Toon Shader in mind as well. So let's just get these details in there. Now, I also don't want to be too crazy with these sort of details because again, they might get covered up by the tats. Maybe I want to, will I add any like sort of skin bump normal maps or anything like that? That I'm not sure. It really depends on what I need for the character, and I don't think so. What I might actually add is some actual like fake toon shading stuff, like black lines and stuff, maybe, to give it a bit more of a gritty edge to it. But I don't think I'll be adding any actual like puckers or anything like that, skin tonality, that sort of thing. I will add like proper wrinkles and stuff, details on the fingernails though. I'll add like proper fingernails and everything like that. All right, I think that will do for now. Let's give it a go and see how this looks in Blender using some sort of toon shader. So that's all good. That's all done for now. And it can always be improved, of course. But let's give it a go and see just how much of a difference that makes. All right, so what I got to do is go to File, Export Textures, and I got to blend. They have a Blender preset, which is awesome. Material 04, that's the name. Let's just rename that one as body top. All right. Export textures. Choose my export place. All right, textures. I'm just gonna put them here, and it will export all the appropriate things. So if I click on this, you can see this is what it's going to export out: roughness, metallic, etc. If I want them, and it's going to do it with the UDIMs in mind as well. So export. Oh, that's interesting. The normal isn't set to be 16-bit. I might actually fix that up a little bit. Hold on, let's expand that. I see normal AL. Let's make that 16-bit, and the height 16-bit, because you'll get a better result that way. Alpha metallic. Where's the height? Emission displacement. That's the one. 16-bit as well. All right, cool. So export. Do that again. That's better. All right, cool. So now I'm going to save that. And let's just jump back into Blender. Let's just see how it looks anyway without with cycles in mind. Let's turn off the probably never in terms of like being able to handle high poly sculpts with ease, like ZBrush. I don't think they'll ever be able to, because it's a different kind of beast, the software. So I'm gonna turn off my material override and go to my settings here. You can see here that I've got a texture here already. So let's just go ahead and add our material. Let's go ahead and right click, go to material textures, and let's see if it actually finds all more. So we have our UDIMs. One. It probably won't find the UDIMs with this method, but that's all right. Alpha, there we go. Emission, don't need to worry about that one. And roughness 01. I think that's fine. I don't need to worry about the metallic either, because there's no metals there. Okay, so you can see here that it's done an alright job. For some reason, like, but you can see we aren't working with the right UDIM maps on any of these, so we need to go ahead and push tiled, and to get that, and then refresh it as needed. So with displacement, I probably won't really use it. It's looking a bit too strong there in the normal maps as well, so we'll fix that up too. So strength is looking really strong. It's probably the displacement also that's causing that issue. So the height is like, scale is like really high, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. There we go. That feels a bit better. So you can see it's looking pretty cool. Let's have a look and see how this looks with the oh yeah, it always lags with the Blender. Always lags. All right, so we got that going up there. And I don't really need the displacement, so I'm just going to turn that off for now. And see how that looks with the lighting. That looks pretty cool. Now let's see how this looks with a toon shader. So I'm actually going to bring in a toon shader, import or append. Let's go to my documents. Let's see what I got. Black curtain. I think it's in the, I can't remember where I saved it. So production probably. No. Nothing there. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is just grab, yeah, I'm just going to grab the one from Eevee itself. Oh, resources. There we are. Where's my simple toon? There we are. Append nodes. All right, cool. So I'm going to replace my simple toon, my thing there, with just my simple toon shader there. Roughness, normal. And I don't think I need to worry about alpha right now, so that's fine. And I'll need to switch it over to Eevee. He's looking pretty cool. I like it. He's looking pretty sick. So I just gotta play with the lighting a little bit. Now, unfortunately, with this shader, it doesn't actually take on the lighting parameters of the lights. That's why I want to try and find an alternative. Okay, which is the most prominent light source? This one. All right, it's gotta change the light source in that. There we go, that's better. So what I can do here is play with the shading. I'm gonna make that a bit darker. And I can also change the shadow opacity. So right now the default's a bit like that. So there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna use the toon shader I'm using now. That I made, yeah. So that's available on my page on my Gumroad. Gumroad? Yeah. Specular sharpness. I can make it sharper or weaker. Let's make it sharper and then bring down the expansion. And then bring down the opacity a little bit. It's looking pretty cool. And then bring up the shadow sharpness as well. Actually, I might keep it softer. And bring up the opacity there. Let's see how that looks. And I might change the color of the highlight now. Specular opacity. Let's try that. Just bring it up like really bright and then play with that. So you can see that's looking pretty cool. Needs some work still, but let's go with let's make it really subtle there. I think that looks pretty sweet. Last time I updated the shader was basically when I uploaded it last, so it hasn't changed that much since then. So yeah, cool. Let's give it a bit of pink color. I would actually probably go ahead and bring down the opacity. Just a tad. And then try and blur it out a little bit. That's cool. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty sick. And I'll probably play with another few other kinds of materials as well in the future. But I think as a starting point, I think it's looking pretty cool. Now for the actual shading, probably like remove this or place it further back. So the highlights aren't as extreme. But if I turn on the mask and give it the same shader, let's just try and see how that looks. That looks cool already. Let's bring it black. Change the opacity, change the rim light color. Change the shadow opacity. There we go. Bring back the expansion, sharpness. I think it's looking pretty cool. Yeah, that looks cool. Rim light. Let's try the shadow sharpness and expansion. Yeah, that looks pretty sick. What do you guys think? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit arcane-y, but on a much lower budget. And of course, I'd have to smooth out the normals a little bit, I think. Yeah, definitely have to smooth out the normals a little bit, but I think that looks pretty cool. And this is all without the multi-res turned on, by the way. That's all turned off now. So with that in mind, let's try and do a render. Okay, that's interesting. So there's obviously the mesh is sticking through from the sculpt. So what I'm going to do is turn off the sculpt. There we go. So yeah, it always looks better when you render it out as well. Oh, no worries. Thanks, dude. So yeah, once it's all done, I'm going to add more tats and stuff. I'll get a proper shader going and see how we go. But yeah, not bad for a morning's work, that's for sure. And the shapes are coming through nicely as well, which is really cool. Yeah, exciting stuff. How do I get an anime look? That one's harder. That's a lot harder because you got to really fuck with the normals with that one to make it work. You really got to play with them. Let's try something. Let's go to the clothes. This is a nice thing about using toon shaders is that if you don't really want to texture all that much, you can rely on basic colors to get most of the way there. So let's add a new material, paste that in, and give it another color, so that green color. Bring down the opacity, and straight away we can just test to see how it all comes together. That's look pretty cool. That does look pretty cool though, I've got to say. All right, cool. Let's do the same thing here. I kind of like it, don't I? It looks pretty cool. Let's duplicate that and put that material over here. And then change the color of the pants. Let's try and give it a bit of a... I can't remember which order I did the colors, actually. Okay, so that one was actually meant to be... Yeah, okay, cool. I actually kind of like the orange pants, so I'm going to give it some orange pants. That looks cool. Ah, thanks, dude. So yeah, and it's all working in real time, which is also really cool. So you can see that the roughness is coming in a little bit too hot. So I'd probably try and make the roughness a little bit more subtle overall. But yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Let's add that, but also just increase the metallic. Make it gray. So that looks pretty sick too. Let's just play. I'm just playing with the color. I'm just really playing with it. It doesn't have to be. It's not like the final thing by any means, but pretty nifty. And if I turn on ambient occlusion and ramp that up a little bit, you start to see it in there as well. Turn on some bloom, intensity, threshold. Yeah, that's looking pretty sick. And then what I'll do is add another material for this. I might just make it just a straight up emission because I kind of like the idea of it just being white. That's pretty cool. I know, right? That's how it works. Oh, we always get those styles like 20 years later, right? That's how it works. That looks really cool. Now, if I really wanted to do it just easy peasy way, I could probably add like a gradient for the pants and stuff, but I'll do it properly. But yeah, if I render that out now, looks pretty sick. Obviously, the feet haven't been done, but yeah, and I'll do some color grades on top of that. So I'll probably go into the compositor. Let's go to the image editor. Render result. I could probably add some extra nodes and stuff just to give it a little bit of a oomph down the line. Where do I find that option for YouTube UV projection instead of so sorry. If I go back to the shader editor, it's here. If I were to add, or let's just click on. Sorry, let's just go back to the viewport to answer that question. It's in this node here, texture coordinates UV, into the mapping and then into the texture. That's how it works. All right, let's go into the compositor, render result, and then I can add some extra bits and bobs. So maybe some balance. I can give it some more of a purpley yellowy tone. Something like that. And then I could probably add like just silly stuff like hue, saturation value. Increase the saturation a little bit. Oh, it's a bit too bright. Let's be very subtle about that. Maybe add contrast. A little bit of contrast, maybe. This actually looks kind of cool. And I can actually add that. I'll actually add that color balance later on down here. Now this is just this is just me playing around with the render render itself just to see what comes up. But I'm just curious really than anything else. And then I can add like a lens distortion. Fit and then 0.06 just to give it some extra bit of filminess. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so we're getting there. I think it's looking pretty cool. I think it's going to look really great in animation as well. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Plenty of work to do still, but a good fun experiment anyway. I'm not sure if I'm going to do toon lines this time around either, so we'll see about that too. Anyway, I got to wrap it up because it's already 11:15. So it's almost exactly 2 hour stream as well, so that's great. Anyway, I'll leave you guys to it. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for the super chat, everyone. And also thanks for joining and asking questions. It's been really fun. All right, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.